Too much to do and too little time. It's the story of our lives. Because, well, the more responsibilities we have, the more life demands of us. Today, we'll be discussing how we can demand more from our lives through a connection with our mind, body, and spirit with today's guest, Rochester, New York business professional, Kaitlyn Vittozzi of Tozzi Yoga. My name is Amanda Ashley, and this is Afternoon Cocktail, episode 93, Demands and Desires. Welcome. Kaitlyn, so lovely to share this beautiful Rochester day with you. Welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being had. It's a pleasure. So, Kaitlyn, can you tell our audience just a little bit about your background and journey that inspired your business, Tozzi Yoga?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually hated yoga for years. I started dancing when I was like 2 years old. And I wasn't really great at it, but it's what I did. And when I was a teenager, I had a ballet instructor that started having us do yoga to become like better dancers. And I remember thinking, oh God, I hope it's not yoga day. And yoga was doing what we know it can do, and what the instructor wanted it to do, which is like make us more flexible, let us jump higher, become stronger. Like yoga is great for all of those things. And I was an avid gym goer for years, so well into college and into my 20s. I kept doing yoga as exercise and like it was okay. And then almost 10 years ago now, I actually took a paddleboard yoga class in Canandaigua, and it was the first time I had done yoga, and it made me happier leaving than when I walked in. And I was like, huh, like what is it? Like something about this clicked with me, and I feel a lot better. So, and it's not to knock like the other instructors I'd been practicing with until I got there. Um, it's just that I think in so many things in life, like you find yourself and the conditions that arise to land in a certain situation that it works for you for whatever reason. And especially like it's a beautiful day here in Rochester. Being outside, I think like really has that like heartfelt connection experience. Like it's a big energy boost for so many of us upstate New Yorkers.
Sure.
Um, so long story short, paddleboard yoga led me to start teaching in 2014. And I was really enjoying teaching, and I realized how much better people could feel after moving for an hour, even myself. But then someone would cut me off in traffic, or I'd see someone's like toddler chuck their Cheerios across the room while they were leaving child watch, and that yoga glow was gone. So that's why I started studying yoga therapy. Um, so I could really like help people learn the skills and how to listen to their body to keep that yoga glow going the other 23 hours of the day.
That's awesome. Yeah, the outdoors, we were talking about it. It is so beautiful out. For those of you tuning in from Rochester, please like take a moment to just get outside and get some fresh air today. It's funny, I'm not, I think I've like fairly only given yoga maybe one or two chances. And I never felt like I didn't get into it. And I think a lot of it had to do with maybe just where my mind state was at. Do you feel like you have to come into a class with, you think people come into classes with too high of expectations to walk out feeling the way you're saying, and if they don't, that's why they don't return?
There's so many factors that can play into it. Like if you're having a legitimately bad day, for some people, yeah, maybe yoga would help. For some people, maybe not. Um, I actually was having a great conversation yesterday with a naturopath, about how she, every yoga class that she would take was like, push, push, do a little more, do a little more, do a little more, which like, that's not a bad thing. But I think the culture we're living in, we're already pushing, pushing, pushing. Like everyone has a side hustle, and everyone's like managing all of their finances and their family. Like, and pre-COVID, like had to plan the perfect vacation every year. So I think sometimes, and maybe like 2020, 2021 has been good for this, like realizing like what we really need out of a yoga class. Maybe it is
Hmm.
just to get more flexible. Like I have clients that just want to touch their toes so they can walk and run better. And that's fantastic. Like if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Um, but I think so much of it is, and it's sometimes hard in a group setting. Like, can you meet people where they're at, and give them space to slow down if they need to speed up? Like if you're in a really sluggish state and you need to get your body moving, like get it moving. Um, so it could be a lot of things.
It sounds like trying to find the right therapist for you, you know? Like, you could shop around a little bit and you might just come across people that you just don't connect with, you know? I feel that way as a teacher in general. You know, I teach music on the side and you know, like I always we're learning each other. Like I look at each of the kids I teach and each person that comes into my life expecting me to give them guidance, you know, like I I it's very important to me that we connect, you know, and I'm not sure every teacher feels that way. They want to connect with them on a level, but they might be, you know, like this might just be their 30 minutes, you know, and they're going to teach them the fundamentals and then they run, you know. To me, that's really important. And I think the people that I teach value that too. But maybe somebody doesn't want that, you know, like it's maybe I'm not their flavor. It depends, you know, and that's okay, I guess, you know, like whatever. You can't be everybody's flavor, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, it's kind of like finding a therapist in that you're not always going to be a good match.
Yeah.
And it's hard to put a lot like in a group setting to put all the pressure on a teacher to like make sure everybody's needs are met. Um, you know, nobody's upset by anything he or she says. Nobody's
Hmm.
potentially triggered. Like, and then also realize that like I'll be honest, like your average group yoga instructor, like they're not getting paid that much. Like
Yeah.
they're there because they love it and that's what they want to do. Like if anyone's in it for the paycheck, like it's going to translate. And I honestly believe there's very few yoga instructors who are in it for the paycheck because uh, you'd have to be doing something else on the side to really make it work that way.
Did you find like were you practicing mindfulness and all of the stuff that that's probably very important to you now? Has this been something that you practice like ongoingly throughout your life before you became an instructor and before like yoga, you stumbled upon yoga?
No, that's yoga was really like a lifesaver for me in some ways. I learned so much about mindfulness and um, like one of the things that actually really worked for me was like a gratitude practice because I had a tendency to get so stuck in like what's not working. But what is important about yoga, and I think this is how a lot of people come to mindfulness, if you can kind of like sometimes we have to lure people in with like your body's not feeling that great. There's plenty of people who've walked in the doors of a gym or a yoga studio just looking for exercise, and then they've left with a little bit more. So I know that wasn't your experience, but that was definitely mine. In that I just wanted to actually, when I started teaching, I just wanted a hobby that was going to keep me off of like the Park Avenue bars in my 20s. I was like, I need something else besides just getting drunk this summer. Um, so that's also part of how I became a yoga instructor. But whatever that catalyst is for people that gets them into yoga, I believe very often does lead to mindfulness, to meditation, other types of work.
I feel like in order to lead something like that, I mean, I'm not diminishing. I hope you realize like I actually want to try yoga again. I would love to try it with you sometime. And you know, Amani O'Lear, you do you know her? I would love to take a class with her too. Just the different perspectives, I think, and knowing the both of you now, and especially after like interviewing you, you know, just that connectedness and I know like I think I would enjoy a class with either one of you probably better than what I experienced in the past. I know people try to do it like just on videos too. Like I remember the first time I did yoga, I was like 16 with like one of my friends, Holly from Long Island, and her mom like had a yoga video. It was like so ridiculous. Like they were doing breathing exercises, but it was like a dragon tongue thing. Like I am too embarrassed to even try to do it, but like Medusa tongue, like hanging out and making all these weird noises. And I'm like, we were just doing it because we thought it was funny, you know. But I didn't, as I grew up, and you know, the more I am trying to better myself and working on my own personal growth, you know, I find myself coming across people like you, and I know that there's something there for me. I just haven't found it yet. I haven't found my right therapist yet.
Yeah, well, I think that's such a good point too. And I've always told people this, like if you try a yoga class and it doesn't work for you, like you don't necessarily have to keep going back to that one. Like keep trying it. Yoga's been around for 5,000 years or so. So um, there's a lot of variation within it. Don't feel like you have to master any one piece of it. And, you know, for some people, like yoga could be going for a walk. Yoga could
Mhm.
be like rolling around in the grass. I'm sometimes I have like yoga in my morning coffee. So there's different ways to like find that deeper connection to self. And if it doesn't look like rolling out like a sticky mat, that's okay too. But we would love to have you try it again.
Oh yeah, I definitely will, and I'm interested in doing that. I haven't outruled it from my life by any means. I mean, how do you believe we can go about aligning our mind, body, and spirit in effort to achieve the success we desire?
Yeah, this is hard one. I was listening to a manifestation podcast back in December and it was talking about how like, really be specific about your goals and what you want and picture yourself in 25 years and like what steps you need to take to get there. I was like, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole because I was like, I don't know what I want in 25 years. I was like, I probably want a family, but I don't know with who or where. Um,
25 years is a long time.
it was a long time. And then
Yeah.
someone had called in and said, like, well, I'm in my 70s. I don't know if I should plan 25 years out. And they were like, plan 25 years out, because if not, you know, you might drop dead before then. So I think part of it, and this is what I try to help people get in tune with, is like, what do you really desire? Um, and maybe my desire is like just to plan a little, not so far in the future. Um, but through the work I do, I really believe it starts in your body. And if you can connect into that, it will help lead you down the right path. And I think sometimes we get obsessed with what is that going to look like? That's kind of where I went. But if you can drop back in, um, that alignment does come.
I think you have to listen. Your body does tell you when something's off. You know, like I think about the times where I was off alignment severely and how that felt. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever forget how that felt. And I know that's a place I don't ever want to go back to, you know. And sometimes you can't help what happens to you in life, you know, and you might experience a different feeling of that nature. But I think listening to your body and then just listening to your mind in the sense of knowing what you need to get yourself back into a happier place, what you need more of in that moment. You know, like for me at that time, I needed nature. I needed to feel good about my body. I wanted to work out. I wanted to, and then working out made me eat a little bit healthier. I wanted to be around the people that loved me, you know, that made me feel good about being me, that weren't judging me. I wanted to play music, you know, and when I did those things, that's when I felt my balance start to like take place. Like I was no longer like this. I was starting to level out again, you know, up until the
Yeah,
next thing hits.
right. Well, I heard you too. Like you also said, I wanted to play music. And I think that's part of it is, well, what do we want? It's so easy to
Mhm.
get the demand piece of it. Our to-do lists add up really quickly.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, they're never done. like I don't think there is a retiree even that wakes up and says, well, there is nothing. And if you do, that's when that,
Could be a
potential depression
choice.
starts to kick in. Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's a conscious choice to do nothing, I think that's great. I had a teacher that said, like, just take one day a week and clear your schedule. And that's near impossible for me to do.
I
Like
I
I
was gonna
my
say I can't do it. I like cannot do it. I will be the first to admit it. It's so hard. And some people like, and I know you're like this too. Like I don't know, my mind just doesn't stop. I'm always thinking about things, but I am able now to take moments to reflect. To those bike rides are my quiet time, where I'm like in the zone, getting in a flow of something where I could just be at one with myself. That to me is like meditation, but it's also serving a different purpose. It's exercising me, and that's what also makes me feel good. So it's like anything that could kind of kill three birds at with one stone to me is like golden, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that's the anchor you need to clear that space, if your bike is what clears that space, then do it. Like, don't let
Yeah.
anyone tell you you like have to sit quietly in a dark room, like, and clear all your thoughts out because it's just not going to work if it's not
Yeah.
meaningful to you.
Yeah. I think, and I mean, so you were saying like with being a yoga, most yoga instructors are not, they're not doing it for the money. It's like the same thing as a musician, like by no means are any of us rich. I mean, unless you have like a record deal and success comes your way. But I think I don't know. I think just the general gratification of being in a place that brings you like music brings so much to me, like it's meditative, it connects me, I feel like yoga does the same thing for you, I'm sure, right? It makes you feel good about your body. It's doing a lot of things for you all at once, and at the same time you're able to give, and
Right.
that could be whatever that is for somebody else. It doesn't have to be yoga, doesn't have to be music, but trying to find that I think is really key in a lot of cases and that's typically like if you are able to find that, your happiness level just boosts up, like you level up almost instantly, and you're able to give that much of yourself.
Yeah. And when you're playing music too, like my guess is you're probably fully present, like in
Mhm.
that moment. Is it possible to like play a song and have a to-do list going in the back of your mind? I don't know.
Yes.
It is. You're
Yes.
more talented than I am because I can't even like sing karaoke with something in the back of my mind.
Well, no. So, I mean, to be honest, sometimes more in the past when I was playing like wallpaper gigs. I don't know if you know what I mean by that.
No,
Like gigs
enlighten
where
me.
I'm hired to be like just background music, like I'm not there to be a star. I'm there to create an ambience, and I willingly accept that role. It's great. I'm just happy playing music. But actually, another place, Van Mar, I would do this. I played a department store, just piano, and I would totally zone off because it's all muscle memory that's going off up here and down here. But I'm watching people walk by in their stylish clothes. I loved it there because like people like were always like dressed well, and um the ambience was nice. It was like the most beautiful piano, but like I would people watch like crazy. I think of like my to-do list, what social media posts I had to put out. It's crazy how sometimes like when you're flying on autopilot, unfortunately in certain moments that your mind starts to wander no matter what you're doing. But
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think too, it's probably worth like a mental pat on the back of like, well, I can do that really easily without having to put a lot of effort into it because also on the other hand, like not that it's not important to do good work, but if we turn every little task into like this monster accomplishment, it's exhausting.
Oh yeah, totally. I wouldn't say I'm performing at my best, like when I know what it's like to really be feeling a song when I play it and when I sing it and when it's coming from my body, mind and soul, like that's when I'm at my best as a performer. I can't say I'm doing that the same way, as I'm thinking about what I have to do, when I get home after this gig or in the morning, So it's definitely I really I so this year has been a big year of reflection, and this show's a big part of that. I think I really especially at my performances more recently have been making more of a conscious effort to not be doing those things and to be present in that moment, to be present with the people I'm with, and to really feel those songs, play them
Yeah.
for what they meant to me all this time.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, especially this past year with like connection being taken away, um,
Mhm.
suddenly those opportunities become so much more meaningful. Like I think I hugged my mom for the first time like last week. Like, and we've seen each other, but like we didn't, it just like it felt weird to hug with the pandemic, even though we were in each other's
Yeah.
bubble. And then finally it was like, yeah, like we actually had a death in the family. And I was like, I'm just gonna hug my
Oh,
mom because it's like that's what we should be doing. And there's just so much that was lacking connection last year that should be so simple and so innate.
yeah, definitely. What's one thing 2020 has like brought to your attention?
Yeah, well, the most physical experience was definitely like back away from the screen and kind of in like an effort to be more present to what I'm doing and drop some of the multitasking. I know right around the election, I was getting these like horrible neck pains, and it's because I was just like constantly on my phone, like refresh, 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 like who counted what state. And I was like, I can't remember in a time in my life that I've been so attached to like the news or TV. I don't even
I
have
know.
cable. So I was like scouring for like, can I find real news? Um, and obviously, it's a blessing that we have this technology that everyone could like keep their businesses, not everyone, but most people could keep their businesses running and still be able to stay in touch with friends and family. So it's not to totally knock screens, but like I think our reliance on cell phones and computers has just, we're on them way too much. And like I said, it was a really physical experience of like my neck and shoulders are killing me. My eyes would start to like burn. Um, so any conscious time away from it is great. Like I try to shut my phone down by like 9 o'clock at night. It doesn't happen typically, but when it does, like it's a noticeable difference in how easy it is to fall asleep.
Oh yeah, definitely. I know. I've been trying to get better about that as well. I mean, when I'm doing anybody that texts me, and I'm sure anybody who's watching this that actually texts me and knows, like I'm terrible with getting back to people. Like it takes me a while to like return my text messages because of that reason. Like when I'm teaching, if it's not an emergency and I'm with somebody, I don't want to look at my phone. Like I want to really be away from it. I feel like, unfortunately, so it's like when I'm doing this, I'm teaching, or a lot of my work is kind of social media based. So it's like trying to find the fine line. Like, where's the line with how much am I going to pour myself into this today? And sometimes that carries into my evening. And the people that suffer are Beau and Remy, and that's not fair to them. So, like, I really try to be conscious of when I'm spending my time like getting up, if I get up early enough and bang these things out of the way, then I'm not looking at my social media for like the next like really 4 hours so that I could be with Remy in the morning time, and do whatever I need to do. And then in the evening at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock when we're sitting together and when Beau and I are watching a movie, I put it away, like there's dinner time, it's away. Try like more than I've tried hard now, more so than ever because of this year. This year really like just we had more time together and I appreciate that. And then now that life's getting busy again, I don't want to forget that. It's
Yeah.
easy to go back to old habits. too easy.
Right. And like, it's okay. Like, obviously, we all have to work, like, we all have to feed ourselves, but setting apart, like, these are my work
Yeah.
hours. Cause, like, there's no such thing as multitasking. We all try to do it. It's just like your brain having to switch back and forth, like, and everything takes twice as long. So to have, like, okay, focus, conscious, like, this is when I'm going to do work, and this is when I'm going to be with family. And this is when I'm even guilty for like my yoga and exercise routines of like, well, I was going to do an hour of yoga, but then I like was doing this on social or like doing this for my website. And now, well, I guess kind of screwed myself out of 20 minutes of my own
And
self-care.
that's the thing, it's such a time sucker too, because it's like you just get into a rabbit hole almost instantly, you go check your feed and then there's like all these comments and then like it's like seeing a squirrel, like, oh, this person posted this, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy crap, it's like there goes my, like you said, a half hour that I could have gone for a walk or done something more productive with my time, and I mean, if I'm by myself eating, like that's when I'll try to like do that, or during times that I try to be more conscious of like when I'm checking stuff for leisure, that I'm doing it during a time that is not in invading my time or space with the people that I care about, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
And I know Brene Brown says like, it's okay to like binge watch TV. Like if you know you're binge watching TV and like you're enjoying it,
yeah,
if you're just doing it to like numb out or because you don't want to like focus, then like, yeah, then it's an issue.
yeah, definitely. In what ways do you believe we can alleviate our minds of like the stressful demands that life puts on us?
Well, actually, dropping multitasking is like a big one.
Huge.
So that alone, because then if you're present and focused with like the task at hand and you get quality present time with your friends and family, amazing. A lot of it is slowing down. Um, and you don't have to necessarily give things up on your to-do list. If you can look and give some of them up, that's great, but slowing down to take the time to do them. Um, let's see. Demands, again, it comes into, I think if you're trying to drop anything from your to-do list, tuning into your body to see like, does this really serve me? Or is this just one extra thing I've added? Or is it extra pressure I'm putting on myself?
Yeah, that's an important question to like really ask yourself time and time again, I think, like how does this serve me well? And how am I serving others? And I think when you ask yourself that, like sometimes some days it's easier to answer that than others, but I feel like that's a question that I might start asking myself every day, because like whether it's the mechanic that I just picked my car up from, somehow like we're all impacting each other's lives in some way, or like and their day in some way. So like how did this person serve me and how can I serve them well, in this transaction, or like how can I, serve my each of my students today? They're all very different. What could I bring to their life? What inspiration can I bring to their life today? And what guidance can I give them? How can I serve Remy today? Like what attention does he need from me? Like, does he need me to play Minecraft for a half hour for an hour and build a house, or should I, just throw a ball around with him? Like it's asking the more frequent you ask yourself that, I think it's like a little bit easier to answer every time because it's not so like jarring. Do you agree?
I agree. And like ask the other person too what they want.
Yeah.
Sometimes we assume. I've actually just started working yoga therapy for couples and we just come in with these assumptions. And I'm single, I'll admit. So it's like easy for me to say it from the outside. But a lot of times people do that are in conflict, like they want the same things. They both want intimacy. They want to feel good touching each other, but we don't ask what the other person wants. We make an assumption in our head of like, oh, well, they want it this way and I want it this way, so it's not going to work. Um, if you can sit, I was listening to someone who runs a men's mental health center and focuses on postpartum paternal health. Um, take like 5 minutes with someone and do like he was talking about your partner, but do a State of the Union for 5 minutes. And you don't have to like fix anything, like stop trying to fix it. Just check in and be like, how are you feeling? What's on your plate? This is how I'm feeling. This is what's on my plate. And he, like you said, he doesn't even recommend like doing anything about it in the moment, but like at least then you know.
Mm. Yeah, I think hearing each other out is really important in a relationship, and a lot of times, like Bo and I are under the same roof. We're working in our home, like we're around each other more than we ever have been in our entire like existence as a couple. But I think I mean honestly, that doesn't mean I really see him more. I see him physically more, but if we're not mentally present, we're both like in so many different places. It's more just like we're around, and we're not checking in all the time. And you see this with like I think they recommend, like I've read something that it's like recommended that parents check in with their children, especially like at their early teenagers, like car rides going home from school are like a good time opportunity to do that. Like I've read this or seen this somewhere like a few times, but I think it's the same thing with anybody that you love, like just kind of calling them up and checking in, like checking in with my sister, or it's we don't always have the time, but if you care, you make the time, right? And if you see that somebody's having a hard time, you make the time. And Bo and I have done that a lot. I feel like it's been a good thing. It's and it's not easy to do. It's kind of like a weird thing, like somebody that you know so well and that knows you so well. Like it's not really easy to ask the question like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk about this? Like, should we talk?" And it's not about you. Sometimes we just have our own internal thing going on, and that's okay. We're all humans and we're feeling that junk. That junk.
Feeling the junk.
Yeah, that junk is there. Kaitlyn, tell me about this junk. So you also write for Rochester Women Online, who's one of our show sponsors. Shout out to Kelly Brewer. Um, can you, so you, the new article comes out, I believe in what, like a few weeks? Could you tell us what your column's about this coming one?
Yeah, so I wrote about not chasing silver linings, and how it came to be is like I feel bad in hindsight. Not, let's see. So 2020, like I felt like I kept having that conversation with people of like, well, how are you? And it's like, oh, I'm good, I'm healthy, nothing to complain about. And it was like, honestly, I got a lot done in 2020. I kind of needed like a little bit of a break in schedule. Um, so I just kept thinking like really positive, like, yep, I'm doing everything. Everything's as good as it can be. My family's not sick. Um, and then at the end of the year, it all culminated. I was watching, was at my parents' house on New Year's watching like network television. It was all like the year in review. And it was such an awful, like 2020 was awful. Even if like really good things happened to you, like hopefully you got married, had babies, everyone's wonderful, but like there's so much hurt in the world. And I think
Yeah.
I got so tied up in like, well, like I'm okay, I'm surviving. I'm getting like I'm checking off boxes, I'm surviving. Um, I never really stopped to like pause and really mourn all of the, even if they're not life or death experiences, like all of those experiences of like going to live music and having a coffee with a friend, like those were all taken away. And I think sometimes we get in this path of like, we're always trying to find that silver lining, make it seem not that bad. And in reality, like sometimes you just have to let yourself feel the feelings, even if they're junk feelings, like let them be there and then you can let them go. But if you never acknowledge them, I feel like they just hang around you like a cloud, not to do too much
Yeah.
sky
Oh
imagery.
yeah, totally. The cloud. I could feel that. Like I was saying to you, like I feel like almost like a little bit of pressure, like doing this show here, because like I don't want to. I really do try to practice everything that I'm preaching, or practice or I can't talk today already are practicing what I preach, you know? So I think, there were times though, you know, like where I'm really feeling, you know, and it's just the political climate, just seeing how people generally are treating each other. Um, you know, there was a lot of disappointing, heartbreaking things that we've all witnessed. And, you know, even with friends and family, you know, not having that access to them as closely and like you're saying, having the things that like we took for granted. You know, like I think this year really, really brought into focus like how many things I really enjoyed doing before all of this, like just going to the museum, you know, going and being free, you know, and being mask free, being like able to touch everything, you know, and now not being able to do that, like things are closed off some way, or it's just things are weird, you know, and it's not the same in some way. And I think eventually things will be fine once everybody's vaccinated and so on and so forth. But it's just yeah, it's just it's not the same, and it hasn't been the same for so long, and it makes you realize it almost feels like the life we had before was like a dream. Right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's okay to like, none of us are perfect. We'll have those moments where we do slip into like, there's gonna be times that you accidentally like are kind, and I'll use myself as an example. Like if I'm doing too much, like I'll be a little bit like, I'll be short with people. Like it could be
Mm.
people I love, but like I just don't want to deal with it in that moment. And it's just because I'm, you know, overscheduled, overbooked. So we don't have to be, you know, perfectly aligned all the time. And we don't have to be
Listen,
perfectly in the present moment all the time either. But I think it's worth like taking a little reflection on this year.
sure. I don't think it's realistic to be any of those things all the time, you know, like we just got to be human all the time, and unfortunately there's not everything is that picture perfect, you know, want to frame it type of image. You know, it's just real, and it's okay to be real and to feel and to have bad days. It's just life, you know, and I think that's a lesson for everybody, you know, to kind of take in and to know that's all right, and to carry on, you know, if anything, I hope that realization brings a little bit more realness into the world and into the public platform, you know, where people are humanizing themselves a little bit more again, and not just trying to be like some manufactured product that they're putting out there. What suggestions would you make on how to improve the health and well being of your soul?
Yeah, so I'm going to sound like a broken record, but um, well, if we want to look at it from like a very westernized perspective, like we all have priorities and to-do lists, and let's like how many of us really take time to prioritize like our soul or our soul time or like how we're working on that. Like it's really easy. There was a time I think I was getting ready for like a cruise or something in my early 20s, and I was like, I want to make sure I have like super flat abs when I go. So like that was really like that was an easy thing to do. Like I stopped eating bread for a couple weeks and like worked out like a maniac. Like that was an easy focus to do, kind of like you said earlier. It's harder to do less. And I really think in doing less, and it could be riding a bike or going for a walk, or, you know, whenever I like snuggle up with my dog, that's always soul time for me. That's little bit of spaciousness really can be like time you dedicate in your week to reconnecting to your soul and like what is your life's purpose. I think if you're not, there's that old adage that if you're living in the past you're depressed, if you're living in the future you're anxious, but if you're present you're okay. um
Mhm.
and presence just as a place to like schedule in a little bit of downtime so that you have time to be with your soul and your life's desires. And I think part of it too is attending to your body and your mind. So if your head's always spinning, which is human nature to do, find the techniques and skills to slow it enough so that you can pay attention to other things. Um, your energy level. Like in yoga, we use like the koshas of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and energetic. Um, and if any of one of those is pulling all of your attention 100% of the time, the others are dried out a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's well said. I mean, you're such a soul networker. I mean, like you reached out to me even before like this interview today. Like I loved your message to me. Like it was so nice and um when we just connected to meet for the first time like over Zoom, like I love that you're so willing to share who you are, and it seems like you're very naturally like with the people that you've referred my way also, like you're interested in connecting different souls. What does that give your soul by connecting with additional like-minded business people and people that I don't know, are you looking for something specific when you're connecting?
No, not well. I love supporting small businesses in general. Like my dad had a business growing up, and I always said I was never going to be an entrepreneur because like he put like 80 hours a week into it, and every family vacation we did, he's a fantastic father, but like he would go late and leave early. And so I had like this idea of business to like owning a business to me growing up was like, no, not for me. Um, and then I think I came to the realization a couple of years ago that like, no, you can own your own business and do something you love in a different way. And
Mm,
I think those are the people in my like social circle, but also my, I guess, business network. The people I refer to come from a like mindset of compassion and listening. Um, and I think it's important to just stay connected with those people because it's really easy to get sucked out into like the rest of the business world.
sure.
Agree.
Kaitlyn, can you tell us a little bit about the services you offer and I mean, what sets your business apart from other yoga companies and businesses local?
Yeah, so I'm a yoga therapist, so I do teach like some people on here might recognize me from like Saturday morning at the Wise, and I love teaching like yoga as exercise. There's nothing wrong with it. Um, but as a yoga therapist, I help people reconnect to their bodies. And we use that as a way so that they can figure out well, like what's going to make me be happier off of the yoga mat the other 23 hours in the day.
Mm,
So really using kind of like we said earlier, like using yoga as a way to get to meditation and mindfulness, like using the body as a way to get to a more aligned life off of the yoga mat. And if you're taking care of your body, the truth is, or even just paying attention to your body, it's going to have a ripple effect into your relationships, whether it's your spouse at home that you're bumping into in the kitchen all the time, or your business partners. So one-on-one sessions with that is my primary focus right now. I do run like bi-monthly closed group yoga therapy. And like I said, I'm really excited about this couples work I'm starting. Yoga therapy is really good for anyone in chronic pain, um, postpartum struggles, any type of life transition, which um, we were all kind of forced into a life transition this year. So I would say that most of us would benefit from reconnecting to our bodies.
yeah, oh, definitely. Well, is there, Caitlin, like, could you maybe leave us off with maybe some kind of meditation or something? Can you give us something that we could walk away with today feeling pretty awesome?
Pretty awesome on the fly. All right. Um, yeah, go ahead. Since you're all sitting at a screen right now anyway, go ahead and bring your hands to your shoulders. And then let your shoulders move your hands. And then go the other way. If you're outside on your bike right now, proceed with caution. And then let your hands move your shoulders.
Okay, I'm like,
No right or wrong, just feeling. And then start to shake out your hands, shake out your arms, like really stretch up towards the ceiling, wiggle, 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 shake, shake, shake,
Shake, shake, shake.
shake, shake, shake. And then get your ribs into it. Ashley's going to kill me. Big inhale and exhale. Let your hands come down by your sides. Close your eyes if you can. And gaze down the tip of your nose and take a big inhale and a long exhale. Big inhale, long exhale. And notice how much tension you're holding behind your eyes, in your ears, in your jaw. Are your teeth touching? Or is your tongue in your mouth? And then see where in your body is calling your attention. It could be something small like your pinky toe, big like your torso. Just notice what's calling attention in your body. See if there's a temperature or a vibration there. Texture. What's one thing, ask yourself, one thing you can do for that body part when you walk away from this podcast today? And what impact is that going to have on your life? And when you have that, you can open your eyes.
Feels good.
It's amazing on the fly is tough sometimes, but everyone can usually find something in their body that needs attention.
It's weird to like close your eyes like that and to focus on those things like your tongue, your teeth. It's just stuff that you don't think about, right? Like how your tongue's resting or I don't know. I don't really think about each of my body parts like that. So it's funny to like sit here for a minute and really to be conscious of that and to think about it. It's
I catch
crazy.
myself all the time. Like I'll have a clenched jaw and I'm like, what am I like? All I'm doing is making an Instagram post. Like, let's relax a little bit.
Yeah, I think when I'm writing or like I'll slouch down a little bit more and I bring the tension down to my shoulders often. A lot of my tension rests like on my neck and shoulders. So to stretch out always feels good. I try to do that with I usually stretch with my vocalists that I teach. Do a little stretching exercise just to loosen them up. Because yoga has some parallels to singing as well. You know, breathing from your diaphragm, just really being in tune with your body for that is important for that song to be released. And I try to do some stretches with them because of that. Kaitlyn, thank you so much.
Oh,
It's always such a pleasure to talk to you. Um, I hope to see you in life soon.
I love.
Where can our audience be directed to your website?
Yeah, they can go to tozziyoga.com. So it's Tozzi yoga.com. If you shoot me a note in my contact form, I'll add you to my email list and I send out like free classes, tips, my Rochester Women's articles, which a lot of times incorporate yoga postures. Um, Stay connected that way.
Awesome. Thanks, Kaitlyn, so much. And make sure you pick up Rochester Women online. You could download your free copy of their magazine. this month. I believe I don't know the exact date, but it'll be coming soon, right? Next week. Be on the lookout. Usually on Wednesdays, she posts it. So today's theme is demands and desires. If you want to look at what's demanding straight in the eyes, DM me your address and I will ship you a 42-inch, 42-pound, 4-year-old child in a bowl of candy for a weekend. Because I assure you, sweeter than the tooth of a child is their will, dedication, and relentless persistence to get what they desire. We all once were children ourselves. So, what changes over time? As we grow, our fulfillment begins to get burrowed in our mounting responsibilities, and our attack on our demands becomes a little less aggressive because we're merely physically and mentally exhausted. There isn't enough time in the day to accomplish all the things that are on our to do list or that we truly wish to get done. And most often, the things we care most about end up suffering. No one is put on this planet merely to complete a daily checklist of tasks. We mustn't fear being aggressive about what it is that we need more of because we all deserve to demand the most from our lives. Balancing, breathing, and stretching play a significant role in our personal and professional achievement and evolution. Without balance, we have no stability. Without stretching, we're unable to see how limitless our potential is. And without taking a moment to breathe, we lose sight of who we are or where our tongue is. Be open and honest about what role you'd like to play in your own future. Demand what's right for you by asking, what more do I want? And consider how the choices you make today will affect your future self. Time and space are limited, so it's wise to be conscious of how we delegate each of our precious moments and cut back on what's no longer serving your time. Now's the time to bring out that relentlessly persistent child within and to pursue the life you always dreamed. Success and accomplishment will never find you if you don't ever go out of your way to hunt it down. Your happiness is worth demanding, so work on your balance, stretch your potential, and never forget to take a moment to breathe. Thank you very much for tuning into today's episode. Huge thank you to my handsome half of the show, Mr. Beau Ryan. Shout out to James Farley of Northwestern Mutual and to Maiden Voyage Studios here in Fairport. Huge shout out to our sponsors, Rochester Women Online, Chris Sirianni at IT Insights, and Bridget Hogue at Empire Realty. We'll be back here with a brand new show this Friday. We'll see you then. Take care.